Morning. Just want to have a chat this morning. It's like, let's have a chat. I've had some interactions this week with some coaching clients who have had team members in their long-standing team members in their team that have been underperforming for a very long time. And it's a tricky one because when you talk to these business owners, and there's probably a lot of you out there watching this video right now, or you've probably had this experience. To be honest, I think if you're a business owner, everybody's probably had the experience of hanging on to that team member too long, right? And I want to talk to you about the psychology behind what goes on there. I probably want to talk about more the extreme end, because I sat down with a coaching client this week who had held on to this team member for years. And I think the challenge was in the early stages of the team member's career, they actually performed really well. And you might relate to this as well. Over time, there was an erosion of skill set. Not even skill set. It's actually not skill. It's not an erosion of skill. It's an erosion of motivation, right? They just become less motivated to do what they need to do to serve the clients at a really high level. So, to be honest, this client, we get really, really good results in the first 16 weeks of our program, like next level stuff. I'll share a couple of digits, but on average, a client that comes into our program in the first 6 weeks, on average, will experience a 70% increase in retail. Next level. On average, they'll experience a 40% increase in their retention. On average, they'll experience a 30% increase in their sales. A 75% increase in their new clients. Like, next level shit, right? I've got a really good validated program. It actually works. But this client got to the end of the 16 weeks and we saw none of that, right? Which is highly unusual for us. We're like, scratching our heads going, what's going on here? Mostly it's always about the leadership. It's always about the human when we don't see progress, because we're our biggest block, but we're also our biggest predictor of success. So when I started unpacking this with this client, she just had not had the difficult conversations. She, in her head, wanted to have the conversations, knew she had to have the conversations, felt like there was a big part of her tension-wise that emotionally wanted to have the conversations, but she never had them. Or she'd attempted to, and the reaction of the team member had caused her to sort of recoil or renege on following through on putting in place the expectations, right? And whether you can relate to that when you've gone to have conversation with someone and they've reacted either emotionally or negatively or aggressively, and you back off, that's a pattern, right? It's a pattern of deflection is what we call it, right? When you are attempting to address something with somebody, every single time you walk away scratching your head going, well, that didn't go very well and I didn't get the outcome that I was looking for. That is called deflection, right? It's a self-preservation technique or a symptom of the ego that we have living inside of ourselves when we experience high levels of discomfort that we're unwilling to take responsibility for. So we put it on others, right? You're making me feel that I can't do that. This happened, the blaming, all the other elements of deflection come out because fundamentally that person finds it very difficult to own what's going on. And I've had team members like this as well, But you have to get out of the washing machine, is what I say to my clients all of the time. When you are getting roped into a conversation with a team member that really is about the excuses, the blaming, the situations, you've got to hold steady on that. And I think the biggest challenge for this business owner that I found this week was that the washing machine would turn on. Let's call it the washing machine of deflection, denial, blaming, excuse making. And the business owner unknowingly would get into the washing machine and get washed around. And they'd never really get to, okay, so what are we going to do about your underperformance? What are we going to do about the clients are not rebooking? What are we going to do about the fact that they're not taking home care prescriptions? Like, what's the game plan here? They never even get to that conversation, right? So what I want you to take away from this is that if you're constantly having conversations with a team member that doesn't get the outcome that you desire, I want you to be aware that you're probably getting into a washing machine with somebody, right? First and foremost. There is probably an element of avoidance going on for you as well, because it's uncomfortable to have conversations, and when they don't go to plan, it makes it a lot more difficult, right? When a conversation starts to take an angle that you haven't thought of how to respond, the default can be, oh shit, I don't really know what's going on here. I'm just going to roll with this. And then it's not till later on that the penny drops and you go, we really didn't get anywhere with that conversation, right? So the strategy that I gave this business owner was, I want you to, when you're preparing for these conversations, I want you to write down what you want the outcomes to be. Okay, where do you want to land at the end of the conversation? Make that super clear, right? And then when you go in there and it starts, because it will, oh, that this happened and that happened and this person did this and I couldn't do that and this is too hard and blah, blah, blah. You know, the whole narrative, the whole story starts to come out. I don't want you to engage or respond to that. I just want you to come back to the original objective, you know, and say something to the effect of, okay, Sally, if that's a real issue for you, we can talk about that part another time. But what we really need to resolve now is, and put the key area on the table that you want to resolve. And you've got to keep doing that. You've got to keep coming back. They'll keep doing it. I know they will. But you've got to keep practice coming back to the objective. What is it that you want to achieve? What is it that you want to address? What is it that you want them to commit to? Right? And stay committed to that. Don't get caught in the washing machine. Right? And get a commitment from them too. What are we going to do about XYZ? What does that look like for you? What do you need to do differently? And then let's reconvene in a week's time, because you should be meeting with these people at least weekly. Hope that helps.